Come on.
What?
Come on.
What's the question, Wilds?
I don't even know.
What's the question?
Just go.
Is there a chance, Shanahan? That just felt like a question out of the blue. Craig Jennings is here, everybody.
Okay.
A question out of the blue, and Shanahan dismissed it.
Okay.
And we're treating
so
it as
you
like,
think
what?
it is? No.
What?
Hold on.
What? Wow.
Is it on the board that at some point this year Brock Purdy gets benched? Of course. And just so we know that hey, this is not me being unfair. This is me being totally honest and objective. Any quarterback across modern NFL history, if you were on a universally accepted as stacked team, that is an SBOB team, that is an unproven quarterback, whose backup, the head coach, to your guys' point that you guys fell all over yourselves to make a big deal of, spoke glowingly about, calling him Steve Young, who, by the way, did once upon a time replace an actual legend. If you are in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, of course your job is in jeopardy. Well, we're 3 games into it. Next week they are a 2-point favorite. 2-point favorite in Jacksonville. We can show you their schedule. If you don't think that if this thing tailspins for the Niners and 5-0 turns into 6-5, that there is not going to be real discussion about Sam Darnold, who could be, quote, Steve Young, which I tried to dismiss, but you two said was a big deal.
All we said was
exactly. So then, yes, it is on the board because Purdy has not earned the unbenchable capital that an actual star quarterback has, and you agree.
Well, look, first of all, Kyle Shanahan, that was perfect. That was the perfect response. And if you listen to it, we kind of spread it up. Like, when he first was asked the question, there's like a pause, like, no. And right. And then there's like the guy asked him, like, well, why not? And he's like, it's like a pause, And then he says, because you don't bench guys for no reason. That was perfect. And I'm not going to mock the question because our teachers taught all of us. The only bad question is the one you don't ask, right? So he can ask this, but this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Benching Brock Purdy during the bye week for 3 bad games. His first 13 games were from good to great. All right. And then he has 3 bad games and you want to bench him. Man, let's look at the 3 bad games. Cleveland was bad. But at the end of the game, when they needed somebody to march them down, he marched them down and they missed the field goal. It's fair. That happens to all quarterbacks. But he did his job. The next game, Minnesota, he was good. And then got concussed and threw 2 interceptions. Now, I don't know if that's the reason for the 2 interceptions, but it's got to be thrown into the stew. Okay? Cincinnati was good. He was. And then he was good throughout most of the game. And then late was bad. Late, he was bad with the 2 interceptions. So I'm just saying, now, I agree with you, Nick. Benching him during the bye week is absolutely ridiculous. And it shouldn't even be considered.
And I'm not saying it should
But
be.
I agree with you. I don't have the glee inside that you have about it.
Glee.
But I agree. Look, he has not had the history or the experience or the legacy even in college where he's like beyond reproach. If Mahomes, Josh Allen, Burrow, Lamar, they have a tough stretch. You just have a tough stretch, we'll play through it. He hasn't earned that. So, yeah, when you use a lot of ifs, if this spirals and the next 2 or 3 games.
2 of the next 3.
Well, and he plays poorly. Like, if he plays really poorly and they lose, it should be on the table. Honestly, it should.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to get to that point.
All the way around.
Right, and that's a big if. No, I'm just saying. He has not earned as much as I like him and believe in him. He has not earned the status where
he hasn't earned
no
the
matter
right
how
to have
bad
a month and
it
a
is,
half
you
of
can't
bad
bench him.
football,
Right.
and he can't
I don't think he'll be that bad. I think he'll rebound, but yeah, it could be.
He's not getting benched, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying he's not benchable because he is if he were to keep playing bad, but he's not because he is not to take on all the blame of why the 49ers have lost these 3 games. And the reason why he can't take on all the blame is because his head coach, who I agree and loved his response, he needs to share some of that blame. Because if the play calling is different, they are a different team. When you look at this 49ers team, if you just take a look at this, like when they run the football, when they decide to run the football, they are a tough team to beat. Right. You talked about it a little bit yesterday. From week 1 to week 5, 34 attempts. You were shoving it down Christian McCaffrey's throat. Like literally, here, Christian, go. And then you get away from it. Obviously, he got hurt, suffered the injury, and he comes back and you start to try to rely on Brock Purdy to do a little bit more. Debo Samuel
when you have a lead.
And
they're trailing, so they have to throw the ball more.
Right. It is easier to run, but for the 49ers, the way they've been structured, even when Jimmy G, all he does is win for you guys over there on that side of the table. Like, it was play action. We got to establish the run so we make the picture clear for our quarterback. So the decision making is easy and simplified. That is their style of play. It's not a knock on Brock Purdy, but it's one of the unique situations in all of football where you can about put any quarterback in that situation.
And the other problem is, because Brew brought up the point yesterday that, Mahomes has had rough stretches. Josh Allen has had rough stretches.
Jalen.
Almost all those guys. One of the reasons we deal with it is because we see some of these things. We're like, wow, but what Mahomes can do, the throws he can make, those things. Brock Purdy's thing was he doesn't make mistakes. He's a process.
Absolutely.
He's a great decision maker. Okay. And you guys know I don't like.
He does make some nice throws, tight windows.
Okay.
No, he does.
Okay. Not as many as any of the top flight quarterbacks, but. And listen, you guys know I don't like the fake stats, but Dusty loves them. And Dusty was like, hey, put this on TV. So I was like, Dusty, if you make me, I will. The Pro Football Focus does the interceptable passes that we can show you. Turnover-worthy plays, pardon me. And so what do those 5 guys ahead of him have in common? They're backups, or they're going to get benched, or they've already been benched, and then Purdy. So if his thing had been doesn't make the mistakes, and now he's making them, and maybe all along he was making them, they just weren't getting caught, that guy can get benched.
That sounds like, what is that stat you mocked?
NHF, not his fault.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what you killed Chris Collinsworth
I said I don't like him. Dusty made me put it on TV. I don't like him. I like the raw stats, picked or not picked. I'm just telling you.
All right, San Francisco going all in on their defense. Chase Young.
Wow, why did they have to do that?
Headed from Washington to San Francisco for what we think right now is a compensatory 3rd-round pick. He reunites with college teammate Bosa. Greg, we'll start with you. Do you like this move for the 49ers?
Yeah, I think it's a great move for the 49ers. When you look at them and what we all have seen them do in the past when they have had success defensively was get after the quarterback, the opposing team quarterback. Well, that really hasn't been taking place. You paid Nick Bosa all this money, and it's not that he's not impactful, but you expect his production to be through the roof. You want him to be that defensive player of the year that you signed up for basically for these years. So you add another guy and give them depth along that defensive line. You expect Chase Young to come in with a chip on his shoulder, wanting to prove himself worthy of a long-term deal with whatever team deems him necessary. Like, this is a big pickup for the 49ers.
Great move because, Nick Bosa is great, but he hasn't been great this year. Now, he's gotten some QB hits and stuff, but sack-wise, he's on pace for the lowest of his career. I think he's got 2.5 at this point. We're basically halfway through the season, maybe 3. Chase Young has twice as many as Bosa has. So now if you get a pass rush, and for all the talk about Brock Purdy, the defense hasn't played well lately.
Correct.
And so if you strengthen the defense, then you think the offense and everything else should follow. So absolutely great move.
They're giving up what's going to be about the 100th pick of the draft for what might only be 9 games of Chase Young, and that's assuming he's healthy. Health has been the biggest concern for him, but this year he's been healthy. But listen, when you are so limited at quarterback, these are the things you have to do to be able to win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
It's true. It is true, guys. Guys, they are trying to. They can win the Super Bowl this year.
Rating.
They believe they can win the Super Bowl this year. They are all in on it.
They're not
the Rams
so
added
limited.
Von Miller too, and Matthew Stafford
Thank you.
Wasn't limited at quarterback.
That's what guys you add guys at the deadline if you think you can win the Super Bowl.
Okay, that's fine. I'm simply saying I think we are seeing the Niners right now recognize a team that was 5-0 and everyone was saying was, an A1 contender. You know what? We're going to borrow from the future for right now because we need even more juice.
Well, you're trying to win now. They're an S-Bob team. You know
exactly
They're
right.
They're at the top of that
Exactly right.
Not feeling great about my Commanders to the playoffs pick. I'm going to have to redo this. Coming up next, Lions.
That's not your fault if they do a sell-off.
Yeah, but
That's right.
It's not your fault.
I could have seen that.
You hear about the basketball one?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.